Most people who have a wasp problem in the summer knock down the nest, spray some foam from a can, and call it handled. Then the following spring, there is a new nest in the same spot under the same eave, or tucked into the same gap in the siding, or hanging off the same rafter in the garage, and they do it all over again. This happens year after year, and most homeowners chalk it up to bad luck or a bad wasp season. It is neither of those things. It is chemistry, and once you understand it, the whole pattern makes sense. Paper wasps, yellow jackets, and most of the other social wasps that build around homes produce pheromones from glands on their abdomens as they construct their nests. These chemical signals serve as communication within the colony, but they also leave a residue in the wood, the crevices, and the surfaces where the nest was built. That residue does not go away when the nest is removed. It persists through fall, through winter, through snow and rain, right into the following spring. When a newly mated queen emerges in April or May, looking for a place to start her colony, she is not choosing your eave at random. She is detecting that pheromone trail and reading it as a signal that this location has already been proven safe and suitable by another queen before her. She builds in the same spot because the chemistry is telling her to. This is the reason that spraying a nest and knocking it down solves the immediate problem, but does nothing for next year. You removed the structure, but left the invitation. Professional exterminators who do thorough work know this, and they treat the surfaces after removing the nest. The ones who do not tell you about this part are not doing you any favors, because an untreated surface almost guarantees a return visit, which is, of course, another service call at $150 or more. The Amish approach to this has always been to address the root cause rather than manage the visible symptom. My grandfather used to say that a pest problem you deal with every year is a pest problem you never actually solved. He was right about that. What I am going to walk you through is a 4-part system that handles the colonies already on your property, deals with active nests safely, and prevents new ones from forming in the first place. It is not complicated. None of the materials are hard to find, and the total cost for a season is less than what most companies charge for a single visit. If you are finding this useful already, go ahead and like this video and subscribe so you do not miss the follow-up videos in this series. Now, let's get into the actual methods. The first method targets colonies you cannot see. Yellow jackets in particular often nest underground, inside wall voids, or in locations where you cannot reach the nest directly. Spraying the entrance does not work well because you are only killing the workers coming and going, not the queen, not the larvae, and not the eggs. The colony survives and keeps producing new workers. The bait method works differently because it uses the wasp's own foraging behavior to carry a lethal agent back into the colony themselves. Here's what you need. Go to any dollar store and pick up a bottle of apple juice. The cheap kind is fine. Then go to a hardware store and buy a container of pure boric acid. It is usually stocked near the pest control supplies. You want pure boric acid, which is a fine white powder, not a roach bait product that contains boric acid as one ingredient among several others. A single container costs around $6 and will last you several seasons. To make the bait, pour about 2 cups of apple juice into a bucket or large container, then add 2 teaspoons of boric acid and stir until the powder is fully dissolved. That is the complete mixture. The reason apple juice works well for this is that yellow jackets and paper wasps are scavengers. They are drawn to both sugar and protein sources, and apple juice registers strongly on both. Honeybees, on the other hand, are structured foragers. They communicate with each other through waggle dances, which are precise directional signals that point other bees toward specific flowers or known food sources. A soda can sitting on the ground with liquid in it does not match the kind of signal a honeybee follows. They will fly past it. Yellow jackets will not. They will land, drink, and carry the mixture back to their nest. Boric acid works as a stomach poison that damages the lining of the digestive tract and also as a desiccant that pulls moisture from the insect's exoskeleton. A wasp that drinks the bait does not die immediately, which is exactly what you want. It lives long enough to return to the colony and share the food with the queen, the larvae, and the other workers. Within a few days, the entire colony collapses. This is the same mechanism that professional exterminators use in their bait stations for stinging insects. The commercial versions cost significantly more and contain the same basic principle. To set up the bait stations, pour a small amount of the mixture into a regular soda can, maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons of liquid. You do not want to fill the can because if the wasps drown in the bait, they cannot carry it home, and the colony lives on. Take a wooden stick, break it in half, and push it into the opening of the can so it sticks out at an angle like a ramp. The wasps will land on the stick, walk down into the can, drink, and fly back to the colony. Place these cans around the perimeter of your property, under eaves near spots where you have seen wasp activity, and anywhere your pets cannot easily reach and knock them over. On the question of safety for people and animals, boric acid at this concentration is not a meaningful risk to mammals. A dog or a child would need to consume several tablespoons of the raw powder to experience any symptoms, and the diluted concentration in the bait liquid is far below that threshold. For the wasps, however, any dose is lethal. If you already have an active nest somewhere you can reach, the bait method is too slow. You need something that works on contact. The simplest and most effective option for accessible nests is plain dish soap mixed with water in a spray bottle. This sounds almost too straightforward to be taken seriously, but it is a genuine method that pest control technicians use in the field, particularly for nests in spots where chemical sprays are not appropriate. The way it works involves basic biology. Wasps, like all insects, have a waxy outer coating on their exoskeleton called the epicuticle, which is a thin layer of lipids that keeps moisture in and water out. When you spray a wasp with soapy water, the soap molecules break down that waxy layer by binding to both water and fat simultaneously, which is the same reason soap cleans grease off dishes. Once the epicuticle is compromised, water penetrates the tiny breathing holes along the sides of the wasp's body, which are called spiracles, and the wasp essentially drowns from the outside in. Death is fast, usually within seconds of direct contact, and there is no chemical residue left behind. To set this up, fill a standard spray bottle with water and add a generous squeeze of dish soap, enough to make the water noticeably thick when you shake it. You do not need to measure precisely. Shake the bottle and go. Spray the nest directly and keep spraying without stopping. The wasps in the immediate area will drop quickly, but any wasps returning to the nest from foraging will be agitated and looking for a threat. Do this in the early morning or after dark when most workers are inside the nest and activity is low. That is when you will have the best result with the least exposure. There is one situation where this method should not be used, and it is important enough to mention clearly. Do not use water-based sprays near electrical fixtures, light switches, outdoor outlets, breaker boxes, or anything connected to wiring. Water conducts electricity, and wasps commonly build nests near or inside light fixtures, under eave-mounted lights, and around electrical panels. People are injured every year spraying water at a nest that is sitting against a live fixture. If the nest you are dealing with is anywhere near electrical components, skip the soap method entirely and use the product described in the next chapter instead. For nests built near wiring, light fixtures, or electrical panels, there is a professional-grade product called WASP Freeze that exterminators carry on their trucks specifically for these situations. It is a pressurized aerosol that kills wasps on contact, and it is rated non-conductive up to 47,000 volts. That rating is not a marketing claim. It is a tested electrical specification that makes it safe to use near live fixtures where a water-based spray would be dangerous. Wasp Freeze works by freezing the wasps on contact with a rapid-acting aerosol that immobilizes them almost instantly. You can stand up to 15 feet away from the nest, spray directly at it, and the wasps drop within seconds. It is considerably faster than the soap method, and the standoff distance gives you a reasonable margin of safety. One can cost around $15 and will last through several nests over multiple seasons. It is not a product you will find at a general hardware store most of the time, but it is available online and at pest control supply retailers. The cases where you would reach for this instead of the soap method are straightforward. If the nest is attached to or touching a light fixture, if it is inside an electrical box or near exposed wiring, or if you can see wiring passing close to the nest, use the PT WASP freeze. In all other situations where you can reach the nest directly and there is no electrical risk, the soap water method works just as well and costs almost nothing. A wasp that lands on a treated surface picks up microscopic particles of the dust on its legs and body. It carries those particles back into the colony, where the dust spreads through contact with other workers, the queen and the larvae. Deltamethrin attacks the nervous system of insects and is lethal in very small amounts. So even the small quantity a single wasp carries back is enough to do significant damage to the colony over time. The effect is slow but thorough, working the same way as the boric acid bait in that it uses the colony's own social behavior to distribute the lethal agent throughout the nest. Apply Delta Dust once in early spring before queens begin scouting for nest sites. Focus on the spots where you have had nests in previous years, every eave and overhang around the structure, the inside corners of any open-sided structure like a gazebo or carport, gaps around window frames, soffit vents, and the areas immediately around any outdoor light fixture. A few minutes of thorough application in April or May will carry through the entire season. You are not waiting for a problem to appear and then reacting to it. You are making your property inhospitable to nest-building queens before they ever make a decision about where to settle. Delta Dust is available at pest control supply retailers and online. It is not typically carried at general hardware stores, but it is not difficult to find, and one container will last several seasons of preventive application. The 4 methods described in this video are not meant to be used in isolation. Each one addresses a different part of the problem, and the full system works because every piece covers something the other pieces do not. Here is how they fit together in practical terms. The boric acid bait handles the colonies you cannot directly access: underground yellow jacket nests, wall void nests, colonies and spots you cannot spray or treat directly. Set up the bait stations in early summer when foraging activity is high and worker populations are large. The more workers that visit the bait, the faster the colony collapses. Place the stations around the perimeter of your property, under eaves, near the foundation, and anywhere you have seen regular wasp activity. Check them every few days and refresh the liquid when it runs low or evaporates. The soap and water spray handles the active nests you can see and reach that are not near electrical components. Accessible nests under eaves, in shrubbery, under deck boards, in the corners of outbuildings. Do this in the early morning or after dark for the safest and most effective results. One thorough application to a nest usually handles it completely. If wasps return and begin rebuilding in the same spot, apply Delta Dust to the surface once the nest is removed. PT Wasp Freeze is the tool you keep on hand for the specific situation of nests near wiring or fixtures. You may not need it every season, but when you do need it, the soap method is not a safe substitute. Having one can available means you are not making a risky decision with water near live electrical components because you did not plan ahead. Delta Dust is the preventive layer that ties the system together across years. Apply it in spring to every surface that has hosted a nest before and to the areas most likely to attract new queens. This is the step that breaks the annual cycle. Without it, you are managing a recurring infestation. With it, you are preventing one. The total cost for all 4 components runs somewhere between $25 and $40 the first time you put the system together, depending on what you already have on hand. After the initial setup, the ongoing seasonal cost is minimal, mostly just replacing the boric acid bait as needed and doing a fresh application of Delta Dust each spring. Most professional wasp control services charge between $100 and $300 per visit, and many of them address only the visible nest without treating the surface or setting up any preventive barrier. The system described here costs less than that single visit and continues working for as long as you maintain it. The Amish approach to pest problems has always been shaped by necessity. When you are working without easy access to professional services and you are keeping bees and tending animals that would be harmed by broad-spectrum chemical applications, you are motivated to find solutions that work completely rather than solutions that require ongoing management. What I have described in this video is not folk wisdom or guesswork. The biology behind boric acid's effect on insect colonies is well documented. The mechanics of how soap destroys an insect's exoskeleton are basic entomology. The pheromone behavior that drives queens to return to previous nest sites has been studied and published. These methods work because they are built on how wasps actually function, not on how much product you can sell someone each season. A few practical notes before you get started. Timing matters more than most people expect. The best time to address a wasp problem is early in the season, not when it is already at its worst. Queens begin establishing new colonies in spring, and early in that process, the colony is small, the queen is the only reproductive individual, and the whole structure is vulnerable. By midsummer, a colony of yellow jackets can contain several thousand workers, and at that scale, the bait method takes longer to work, and active nest removal becomes considerably more dangerous. If you set up bait stations in May and treat your eaves with Delta Dust in April, you are dealing with the problem when it is still manageable, rather than waiting until August when the nests are fully established and the workers are aggressive. When you are removing an active nest with the soap method, clothing matters. Long sleeves, pants, and closed shoes are the minimum. Wasps target dark colors when they are defensive because dark-colored animals like bears and skunks have historically been their most common predators. Wearing light-colored clothing reduces the likelihood of drawing their attention. Work at dawn or after dark when the wasps are least active and most workers are inside the nest. Bring the spray bottle already filled and shaken so you are not fumbling with preparation when you are standing in front of an active nest. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.